Kenya is very different than a lot of the places that I've been. I've been to Europe and I've been to Asia. Africa is very different.
I certainly came in with different ideas about how the village was, about what the state of the water was, about how people lived in Kenya, and was surprised by everything.
I don't really want to go back yet. I am not done here, that's for sure.
I was really surprised by the community and the welcome that we received when we got here. Engineers for a Sustainable World is a national organization, and Autumn and I started a chapter of ESW at Harvey Mud. The mission is to promote social, economic, and environmental sustainability around the world, so both local projects wherever you're based and also around the world.
They enticed me by saying that they were interested in doing projects in developing countries, engineering projects in developing countries. And since I had lived in Africa for 2 years and love Africa, I jumped at the opportunity to work with these students and help provide them that experience.
I think there was definitely concern with any place in Africa, or most places probably in Asia, for students in their 20, 21-year-old to be going out and seeing the world that way. But I think the way Kenya stacked up to me was Nairobi is a very active and can be a little disorienting city. But outside of there, I think we all felt very safe and, like I mentioned before, very friendly and accommodating people, trying to make sure that we felt that we were comfortable in their country. And that was terrific.
I guess the way people live kind of surprised me a little bit. The way the digging in the river for the water was shocking a little bit. You'd mentioned it's people had told us that that's what they do, but just the way that water looks when it comes up is not what I expected.
For a year we had been talking with the Clays about this river and figuring out how to purify the water that came out of the river and fixing the pump and all that stuff, and I had imagined a river with water in it, and then to get to the village and see that the river is really just a sand bed and is an underground river or a temporary river that fills when there's flooding, that was a shock to me. And to see people basically digging a hole in the sand and getting muddy water from a few feet below the top of the sand, and that's their drinking water, that shocked me. I never saw anything like that.
So the water that's in the ocean and in lakes gets evaporated because the atmosphere is very warm. When it gets up high, it cools down, it condenses, and forms clouds, right? Yes. So this is what we call the water cycle. I've helped teach elementary kids in the US, but never high school age kids who are incredibly bright. Some of them picked up what we were teaching right away. And working with them and seeing how smart they are and how excited they are about learning was a really cool experience.
So salt is one of the things that you can have in water that's bad, and it makes it taste. It was really exciting to see the next day when they came to see the solar still that we had built. that they had actually picked up all the concepts that we taught them in class the day before.
Instead of boiling the water in one container and keeping that water and drinking that water, you have like one container that has the dirty water or the salty water in it, and another container that you then capture the clean water in. That's the idea. So you could, yeah, you could put signing on it.
I really learned like how respect between people can really go a long way. There were a ton of language barriers here because I don't speak Swahili or any of the tribal languages, and a lot of the people here don't speak very good English and speak much better Swahili. So we had some trade-offs that we had to get through. And even with that, I was able to, I guess, communicate goodwill and graciousness to people, and they were kind of able to communicate the same thing to me just by actions and how we respected each other. So I think that was really important for me.
There aren't resources readily available for what you need all the time. I mean, you don't have running water, you don't have toilets, it's just not the same.
One of the reasons I was so excited about the students having the opportunity to do this project was because I knew that all of the engineering knowledge that they have been learning over the past few years at Harvey Mudd College, they'd be able to put that to use, but they'd also have to leverage some extra creativity to make things work in a very rural, almost primitive village in terms of the materials and resources available. And so to see them, for instance, at the hardware store in Wote, this small town, and trying to figure out how are they going to make this solar still using materials that were actually available in that hardware store. They had to be very creative, and they had to be smart, and they had to think on their feet. And that's an experience that they're not going to be able to get in a classroom.
I think it'll be okay.
I guess it shouldn't have been a surprise, but I guess it was a little bit surprising how much they really talk to each other when they're trying to problem solve with a solar still or trying to plan a class to teach the students. They're all interacting, equally contributing, and that part I found to be, terrific to observe as a parent. Makes me feel wonderful about Mudd as a place for learning for the kids.
Just in terms of working with them on the project that we did in the village building the solar still, I saw both of them really be able to be really creative with limited resources and still be able to build the things that they wanted to, even though they didn't have the resources that they were used to.